Peace be with you, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Trevor. Very grateful to have you here. And today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the 6 fragrances that I wore the most throughout the month of October 2023. And I'm going to rank these in order of my personal favorites. So starting off with the number 6 spot, we have Prada Rossa Black, a fragrance that had to grow on me. I'm not too much of a fan of the doughy textural feel, which this has a lot of, but there's a little bit also of a rubbery textural feel. So this kind of is in the same vein as Van Cleef & Arpels Midnight in Paris. I think they had a Bulgari Black that I have not smelled, that it had like a hockey puck sort of bottle. And then also Cadillac Coupe, if anyone was fortunate enough to pick up that car brand fragrance before it sort of dried up. The saving grace for this with me that let it grow on me though is that there's a certain green, almost medicinal sweetness that's in here that's different from anything else I've really gotten my nose on. It kind of reminds me of the difference between sugar and stevia, or like xylitol, these sort of more natural sweeteners as opposed to the sugary type sweetness that is kind of associated with the bubblegum quality of modern designer fragrances. There's something about this that has a certain green powdery touch to it that I really grew to enjoy with this, the aromatic side of it, despite being a rather sweet and dark fragrance. I will say, I think Van Cleef & Arpels Midnight in Paris, if you have the money to hunt down one of those bottles, is going to be a better pick than this. But this is readily available right now, I believe, at discounters still. So definitely worth checking out. But like I said, something that had to grow on me and is not my favorite out of these 6. Okay, now the top 5 here. We're going to go ahead and give the number 5 spot to Moschino's Toy Boy. Really great fragrance, really good designer release in my opinion. It is something that is a bit of a divisive fragrance, however. You have to like rose and you have to appreciate something very modern, I would say. I feel like if you've got a taste for more vintage, classic style perfumes, this is going to be something that you probably won't jive with, because it just does have something very, maybe even postmodern to some degree, just very unique and for its time. But the divisiveness in that quality in this fragrance is, I believe, just coming from the fact that it's a rose fragrance, but I think it does rose very well. For men, it has some certain spicy elements to it, but the rose is done in almost dewy, very floral fashion that's great for both the autumn and the springtime. I really love this any point in the year when there's like a little bit of dryness in the foliage that meets some of the first rains of a season. So either like right after the dryness of summer, or sort of like that part in spring where the snow is starting to melt after having somewhat of like a dry winter air. So Moschino's Toy Boy, definitely worth checking out. I also would recommend maybe getting the 50 ml. This is 100 ml. I think the bottle is a little bit too clunky in that size, and I believe the 50 mLs still fall under the cheapy range of sub 40 a lot of the time. So definitely one worth checking out, and one that I got a lot of enjoyment out of wearing this October. Okay, number 4 spot. This is going to be a hard one, but I think I'm going to give the number 4 spot to Tom Ford's Oud Wood. Definitely something that I thoroughly enjoy. It is very close. Versace Oud Noir is very close to this. I haven't tried any of the Maison Alhambras, but this scent profile, or at least this Tom Ford version, has a certain coolness about it. It's a more brisk, like polished wood facet to it. That the Versace kind of has more of like a warmth to it. So very subtle nuance, but for me that's something that I enjoy more in terms of a wearing experience than with the Versace Oud Noir. So I was really glad I got a really good deal on this at aurafragrance.com. I maybe spent a little bit much to get an additional 5% off their list prices. If you reach a certain threshold, they'll give you 5% off everything. So I ended up actually buying this from them for like $190, which the 100 ml, that's really good price. But in terms of just a wearing experience for October and the autumn in general, it's just so smooth and classy and dumb reach quality. And this is, I believe, one of the newer formulations. I can't see what the batch is exactly. GU323DD. No, I think that might be part of the address. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a very new batch, and I get at least 6 hours longevity out of it, which might not be great for everybody, but thoroughly enjoyed wearing it. It just went so well with the sort of coolness of autumn alongside of the sort of sweet woody qualities that the beginning of the festive season start to offer in terms of its sweets, as well as its uptick in class and, you know, dress. You know, it's easy to just wear a white tee in the summer, and to some extent it's like lounging in your underwear to a degree, but as the weather starts to cool down, we can start grabbing for you know, knitted apparel and putting on layers and adding degrees of modesty and dignity in some sense by the added layers that come along with the winter time. So this just evoked a lot of that for me in terms of wearing experience, and highly recommend getting a sample. I'm interested to try the Middle Eastern ones. However, if they come rather close, then I might also have to just stock up on those. But Tom Ford's Oud Wood, a real classic, and it's something I thoroughly enjoyed wearing this October. Okay, so that was the 4 spot. The number 3 spot is going to, yeah, Cartier Declaration Dunoir Intense. Unfortunately, both the regular Dunoir and this Intense version have been discontinued. It's very difficult to come by these for, you know, anything less than $160, I want to say. I was lucky enough to catch one for like $64 a couple months ago. But thoroughly can recommend this fragrance, and if you're you know, a frag head or a collector, this is definitely something to own. If you smelled the original Dunoir, it has all of the fresher elements that has with the dewy sort of rose, but then they enhance the sweetness factor in here with a little bit more of an emphasis on a jammy quality rose. Makes it just a little bit more dark, but this is just a stunning juice, and definitely one of my favorite rose fragrances in my collection. So that's Declaration Dunoir Intense. Lovely item to have in the month of October for like spooky season and that sort of thing. Very elegant and romantic to some degree. I mean, maybe that's just because I associated romance with rose, but the number 2 spot, actually this is, I think I'm going to give this the number 1 spot. The number 2 spot we're going to give to Jubilation XXV from Amouage. So I like to just call this the charcuterie board fragrance. So if you want to smell like a snack during this autumn, this is going to be one for you. It has this, for one, it's just kind of like a cornucopia of notes, so there's a lot going on, a lot of complexity. There's fruity elements, I want to say savory elements with some of the spices that are in here. There's honey that gives it a certain sweetness that's light and fresh, and just reminds you of maybe like some dried fruits. There's some like nutty qualities in here from the way that the resins are used. A little bit of like a smoky nuance, but it's like also woody, so you have just so many great things. Some fruity elements from, I think, like blackberries So yeah, like a charcuterie board is what this reminds me of. Fortunately or unfortunately, I have not smelled the vintage formulations of this fragrance. I know that the people that have say that this is a real big letdown, but I go, for one, I go personally in a little nose blind putting this on, but the less that I'm at my wrist with it and the more that I just allow it to waft around in the air, I catch brilliant, thick sillage wafts in the air while being mostly nose blind, save for the occasional gracing of this fragrance across my nose. But I've definitely gotten compliments with this one at, like, you know, deep into the wearing experience. So just keep that in mind. That's my experience with it, and I really enjoy the scent profile, even if it's something that I have to do a little bit of a song and dance with to get some pleasure or you know, experience with. But it's stunning juice and definitely worth sampling for both the autumn and I would say moving into the winter as well. So that's Jubilation 25 from Amouage. And the number one spot out of my most worn fragrances of October 2023. Again, I wore all of these twice last month, while everything else I wore that month was I'd only worn once. But this is just a classic fragrance, barbershop style, citrus aromatic, woody aromatic as well. There's like a lot of good resinous qualities in here. Beautiful lavender, elemi, which is one of my favorite fragrance notes, especially for the autumn time. This is Eau Sauvage Parfum from Dior. This is the 2017 version. I do have the 2012. I enjoy both of them as separate scent profiles. They could be definitive flankers of each other. Probably not worth hunting down the 2012 version unless you're like a collector. But that one I like a little bit more for the winter time. This one is a spring and fall. And it's so balanced and perfectly assembled in terms of just like the lavender is almost creamy yet green and aromatic, and then there's like the woody facets, and then there's like this slight sweetness coming in from the elemi resin, and then the citrus is very like sparkly and it has some dimension to it. Just so great of a fragrance, especially just for my personal tastes. This might lean a little bit more mature, or you know, like a dress-up fragrance. Might not be everyone's casual wear, but definitely something that I could easily put, like, this would be a signature for me if I didn't collect. Actually, this fragrance in the Eau de Toilette version, this version, and the 2012 version is the fragrance I own the most of in terms of like a line, because I have a few different vintage versions of the EDT, and I just love Eau Sauvage, all of its iterations. I also have the Cologne flanker. I still need to get a few of them that are out there. Like there's like a leather one that I know Mr. Smelly picked up that I definitely want to try hunting down. But this one was great for the month of October. It definitely just carries that certain like air of class about it, while harmonizing well with the color scheme of the autumn. Definitely just reminds me of being you know, kind of like that dark academia, like owner of a manor in some sense. Like maybe not so dark per se, because you could be like you know, a normal protagonist and not necessarily an anti-hero to wear this, but it's definitely just, it evokes that imagery of like being in a Dracula style mansion in the autumn time with the iron gates with some rose thorns coiling around them. So you're not necessarily Dracula or a dark character per se, but just that sort of autumnal mansion vibe. This, I think, articulates very well, as well as some of the other fragrances mentioned here, like the Declaration d'un Soir. But yeah, these sort of scent memories or images are what these fragrances were evoking for me over the month of October, and I would love to share what these fragrances did with you if you're hoping to expand your horizons and try some of these out if you haven't already. These are great fragrances to get your nose on. So as always, appreciate you sticking with me to the end of the video. Let me know what some of your most worn fragrances for October were in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.